Hello, and everybody, and welcome to Logically Left. I am your host, Jeff Waldorf, and I have a pretty good show today. So, a lot of interesting stories here, including how ICE does not want you to call them the Gestapo anymore. Mm. Turns out they're getting really, really upset about that. They may perhaps even be a little triggered by it, and so therefore, whatever you do, please avoid calling ICE, especially online or anywhere that they can see it, the Gestapo. Okay? Because they're really, really not happy about that. Not happy about that. All right. So there's that. We also are going to talk about how the administration is looking at trying to jail their political opponents. Yeah, we've got the $400 million gift from Qatar. Is it actually a gift, or does it cost money? What's going on there? Because we are not getting a straight answer. Okay. And then we have the mayor of St. Louis, Missouri, going after FEMA for not showing up. They have had a pretty bad disaster, tornado, and they're not getting any help. Shocker. We also then are going to talk about a anti-trans judge in Texas, making it so that discriminating against your trans coworkers or just employees, totally fine. You know, as long as you don't fire them, but you can harass them to the point of where they quit. Okay, by putting rules, in place that are anti-LGBTQ. So not just trans people are affected by this. Of course, you've got all members of the LGBTQ community that are being targeted by this specific ruling. So I'm going to have the details on that. And what FEMA? Technically, it still exists. But boy, are they not ready for the storm season. But that's okay. Apparently, they don't have to be, because they don't plan on helping anyone. So, you know, there's that. So, yes, those are the stories that I'm going to be talking about today on the show. Please like and share the stream if you haven't already. Of course, it helps us out. Breaking news about COVID vaccine guidelines. No, I saw that earlier. And basically the government is saying, well, we're gonna make it so that you can't, if you want a vaccine, but you can't, but you're not elderly, then you're not gonna have access to it. Really? So you're gonna tell us that we can't get a vaccine even if we want it? Well, whatever happened to vaccine choice, people? I thought your whole thing is, well, if you want the vaccine, you can get it if you want it, but you don't have to. Well, now they're saying, well, even if you want the vaccine, you're not allowed to get it unless you're elderly or ill. Well, what about my choice? What about our choice? Apparently, that doesn't matter anymore. The weird. It's very strange how the people who kept crowing about choice, right? About, we just want to have choices. Now are denying us choice. That's what it always happens when you have a right-wing authoritarian government in charge. But there you go. So that is absolutely frustrating on that. So my body, my choice. Apparently not. Not if you're in the United States, and especially not if you are pregnant, or you are, you don't get any choices. Welcome to America, where we have taken away freedom. Yeah. So there you go. Now, speaking of taking away people's freedom, we'll start out with the ICE story. Okay. Which, of course, will no doubt be absolutely infuriating, but also kind of funny when you think about it. All right. it appears that the Department of Homeland Security is not happy with people comparing ICE to the Gestapo. That's right. They took to their official X account and wrote, "It is absolutely sickening to compare ICE law enforcement agents to the Gestapo. Attacks and demonization of ICE and our partners is wrong. Our message is clear. Do not come to this country illegally. If you do, we will arrest you, deport you, and you will never return." Well, that got dark. Yes, please stop comparing us to Nazis, because we're totally not Nazis, even though we just sound exactly like Nazis. You will disappear. You will be sent to an El Salvadoran prison camp where you will probably die. We're not Nazis, though. Please stop calling us that. That's so rude. It's so mean. Please stop. My feelings, they're hurt. Also, F your feelings. If you're immigrant, we're going to make you pay. Wow. Yeah, so yeah, that's pretty much it. And they're not just sounding like Nazis. They are literally abducting people from their homes and work sites. Masked ICE agents are taking people off the streets and disappearing them. Okay, they're jailing them. They're sending them to a concentration camp on foreign soil. That's what CCOT is. It is a foreign concentration camp. All right. I don't know. It kind of sounds like a spade complaining that people are calling it a spade. Now, this comes after Minnesota Governor Tim Walz had publicly called out the agency, saying that they are a modern day Gestapo, which is, it's correct. That is 100% true. They are like the Gestapo. Look, you got people like ICE agents ripping babies out of their mother's arms and arresting teenagers. Okay, what else can you call it? What else can you call it? It is Gestapo Nazi behavior. That is what they are. And look, some of the people who were targeted and deported were here legally. Legally. All right, so no, it's a lie when they say, "Oh, we're just going after the criminals, the people that are here without documentation. That's all we're going after." No, they have arrested people who are here legally, okay? For example, students affiliated with pro-Palestinian campus demonstrations, they've arrested those people, okay? Mahmoud Khalil, okay? Others had been attempting to attain asylum status in the United States through the courts, through the legal process, and were deported anyway. In addition to sending people who have no criminal record to CCOT, they also sent at least 50 people there who came into this country legally. That's it. That's it. I mean, look, this is according to a report from the apparently very, very left-leaning Cato Institute. Because they, again, you tell a Republican, "Oh no, it's a Cato Institute report." Those leftist liberals over at the Cato Institute. Are you freaking serious? Here's what they said in their report. Okay, quote: "The government calls them all illegal aliens, but of the 90 cases where the method of crossing is known, 50 men report that they came legally to the United States with advanced U.S. government permission at an official border crossing point." Yeah, so there you go. 21 men were admitted after presenting themselves at a port of entry, which is what you're supposed to do. 24 granted parole. 4 were resettled as refugees, and 1 entered on a tourist visa. An actual tourist. Gee, no wonder that tourism into this country has tanked in recent months. Who would want to come here? We're looking to lose about $12.5 billion in tourism spending this year. Wonder why. Very strange. And yet, the Post from DHS wants you to feel bad for ICE, for them. In fact, they even used a claim from DHS Assistant Secretary Tricia McLaughlin, who said, quote, attacks and smears against ICE have led to a 413% increase in assaults. Assaults on what? ICE agents? She didn't provide any more details. Okay, that's it. So it is funny that this administration is like, can you believe people are assaulting police officers? Oh my God. Wait, you're the one who let the Capitol rioters out of prison, the ones who assaulted police officers. Now, Walz actually referenced ICE operations during his commencement speech at the University of Minnesota's law school over the weekend. In fact, he said, Donald Trump's modern-day Gestapo is scooping folks off the streets. They're in unmarked vans, wearing masks, being shipped off to foreign torture dungeons. No chance to mount a defense, not even a chance to kiss a loved one goodbye, just grabbed up by masked agents, shoved into those vans, and disappeared. To be clear, there's no way for us to know whether they were actually criminals or not, because, yeah, there's no due process here. Because they refused to give them a trial, we're supposed to just take their word for it. Trust me, bro. These people are bad people. Why? How do you know that they're bad people? Well, look at them. Oh, some of them got tattoos. Oh, no. Tattoos.
Oh, no.
Very dangerous with the tattoos. Okay. Sure. And he said, this is what the crumbling of rule of law looks like in real time, and it's exactly what the founders of the nation feared, a tyrant abusing power to persecute scapegoats and enemies. Look, this is one of the reasons I really like Tim Walz, okay? Always have. He's being point-blank honest about this. There's no pussyfooting around here, all right? He's stating it clearly. Yes, they're pretty much the Gestapo. Yeah, pretty much. I mean, you know, this guy's not sitting there like, oh, my friends from across the aisle, they need to be careful as they might possibly, you know, get themselves into trouble. Even though we agree that we've got to be really harsh on those immigrants. We've got to make sure that no illegal aliens are coming over the border. Okay. No, that Tim Walz is like, these people are fascists and we should be fighting against fascists. Yes, thank you. That's what we want. Simple. Most Democratic voters also wish to fight against the fascism. Okay. Now, sadly, the party leadership tends to be locked into this idea that no, you don't understand. You see, Trump is an aberration. He is something unique and terrible. You see, and so the fever will break. The good Republicans will finally get together and defeat the bad Republicans, and then they'll vote for us. Really? When has that ever happened? I mean, it doesn't. It hasn't. Okay, establishment Democrats keep promising that Republicans are going to cross over in large numbers, and they're going to vote against Donald Trump because they're going to finally see the light. And it never happens. It never happens. They keep agreeing with the right wing. They keep going further right. They ratchet themselves further to the right. Look, I was worried, and unfortunately, my worries came true. I was concerned that the Democratic Party would attempt to go further to the right after she lost, and of course, unfortunately, that's exactly what's happening. Okay, the Democratic Party has a 27% approval rating even after Donald Trump has unleashed all of this destruction. And that's because, of course, the leadership doesn't want to fight. They're not interested in it. Now, I'm not saying all of them. You got people like Walz, AOC, Jasmine Crockett, a few others that are interested in pushing back against the administration. But then you also have other people that are doing performative resistance, like Cory Booker. And then, of course, you have strongly worded letters from Chuck Schumer. Oh, my God, what a strong... No, not strong at all. Weak. Super weak and pathetic. That's Chuck Schumer, okay? Booker, oh yeah, he talks a good game, but he just voted to confirm Charles Kushner to be the ambassador of France. That man has committed crimes, okay? But apparently, you don't understand Newark, right? He's got a special and close friendship with, Charles Kushner, okay? Cory Booker, Charles Kushner. Whew, they're like that, everybody. Insane. This is why people like Walz are absolutely refreshing because, look, unlike the party leadership, he's actually fighting and not gaslighting us and calling it exactly the way that it is. These people are fascists, and that's it. That's all they are. They deserve all the scorn that they get. Abolish ICE? Abolish ICE is the moderate position. Okay? Getting rid of the agency and then prosecuting everyone who has worked for ICE, including Mr. Tom Homan, that is the lefty position. And the right position. This channel has Trump derangement syndrome. No, you have Trump ass-kissing syndrome, where you like to kiss the ass of Donald Trump. Oh, and other things, of course.
Tallywhacker.
I wonder if it tastes like spray tan. What does that even taste like? Probably bad. Okay. Nothing like getting a little fake bake on your tongue, right? These people. Trump defense syndrome. Well, that too. I suppose. All right. Let's move on here to political retribution. We could debate. I'm not going to debate you because you're an idiot. Okay? Like, no, I'm not going to give you time out of my day to talk about your dumb ideas. All right, moving on. We actually have news. The Trump administration is apparently targeting members of Congress. Yes, that's right. According to reports, the DHS is accusing 3 House Democrats of assaulting law enforcement during their visit to an ICE detention center in New Jersey. Okay. All right. The lawmakers involved in the incident are Representatives Bonnie Watson Coleman, Rob Menendez, and LaMonica McIver. Also involved is New York Mayor Ras Baraka, who was also charged, but then they dropped the charges. On Monday, acting U.S. Attorney Alina Habba announced that her office has charged Representative LaMonica McIver after announcing that she would drop the charges against Baraka, as I mentioned before. Habba alleges that McIver assaulted, impeded, and interfered with law enforcement, which is pretty funny because, wait, this administration, the president himself had pardoned 1,600 January 6ers. Now, I know that not all of them actually engaged in violent behavior against police, but a few hundred of them did. They went to jail. Okay. But no, Trump said, no, get them all out. I don't care. I don't know what they did. Just get them all out. They were defending me. So, that's it. Come on out. Come on out. Even after you assaulted, impeded, and interfered with law enforcement. Ironic. Now, McIver responded to this with a statement of her own. She said, earlier this month, I joined my colleagues to inspect the treatment of ICE detainees at Delaney Hall in my district. We are fulfilling our lawful oversight responsibilities, as members of Congress have done many times before. Our visit should have been peaceful and short. Instead, ICE agents created an unnecessary and unsafe confrontation when they chose to arrest Mayor Baraka. The charges against me are purely political. They mischaracterize and distort my actions and are meant to criminalize and deter legislative oversight. This administration will never stop me from working for the people in our district and standing up for what's right. I am thankful for the outpouring of support I have received and look forward to the truth being laid out clearly in court. So, now, look, this is the administration trying to arrest members of the opposition party. After this, again, Congresswoman claims that she was assaulted by masked members of ICE. I think ICE is a criminal organization. So, I don't really recognize their authority. All right. And by the way, this is just a beginning. DHS spokesperson Tricia McLaughlin said in a CNN interview on Saturday that there will, quote, likely be more arrests coming. Okay. While Pam Bondi, of course, is looking to make it easier to do her political prosecutions. That's what this is. Bondi has proposed changes to, something called the public integrity section. Well, what does that mean? Basically, her changes say that U.S. attorneys, which are positions appointed by the president, could indict members of Congress without signing off from those attorneys in the PIN, which, of course, the PIN is a ethical watchdog that was put there during, or I should say after Watergate. Okay. Now, prosecutors would no longer need to consult PIN at key points during investigations and prosecutions of public officials in all three branches of government, including federal, state, and local lawmakers, as well as judges. The PIN was established following Watergate in order to consolidate in one unit of the criminal division the department's oversight responsibilities for the prosecution of criminal abuses of the public trust by government officials. PIN also supervises the nationwide investigation and prosecution of election crimes. So they get rid of that. Weaponization of the government against political adversaries, which is what they were crying about. Now, here's the thing. They've already weakened PIN. According to reports, the DOJ has reduced the size of the office from 30 prosecutors to actually around 5. Some of the reductions in staff, to be fair, did come from resignations among PIN leadership after a top DOJ official had directed prosecutors to drop the corruption charges against New York Mayor Eric Adams. That guy is absolutely corrupt, all right? And yet, oh no, we're just going to drop the corruption case against him. What? What are you talking about? Why would you do that? Because he made a deal with Donald Trump. Now, PIN prosecutors have been involved in the Adams corruption investigation and indictment and the prosecution of former Democratic Senator Bob Menendez. You know, the guy with the gold bars? He was sentenced to 11 years in prison for charges related to corruption. Yeah. So there you go. There you go. The office also intervened when now former interim U.S. Attorney Ed Martin sought to prosecute Chuck Schumer for remarks he made about the 2 Supreme Court justices a few years ago. You know, oh, you're going to reap the whirlwind. That's considered a threat? I mean, that you're going to reap the whirlwind, okay? Which means bad things are going to happen, yes. That doesn't mean that it's a threat against your life. It's the same thing with the spelling out in seashells 8647. Okay. Somehow this government, which is apparently filled with pansies, all right, are sitting there thinking, oh my God, this is a threat against us from James frickin' Comey? Are you kidding me? Absolutely ridiculous. But here's the thing. PIN attorneys had told Ed Martin that these comments were obviously not a prosecutable threat. But that they don't care. They don't care. What this is about is doing political witch hunts and political prosecutions. The thing that Trump cried about for years in the right wing, while they're actually doing real crimes. Okay. And now they're looking to do this against Democrats and honestly, even Republicans, if they dare to go against this criminal regime. So there you go. All right. Moving on. It appears that President Trump has been caught lying again. Shocker, lying liar gets busted lying. Ooh. This time about the $400 million gifted jet from the Qatari royal family. That's right. Multiple sources are telling CNN that far from being a gift that the family was looking to give Donald Trump, it turns out that the Trump administration apparently asked for it. That's weird. Hey, give me a new plane. Why? Because I'm president of the United States. Just give me a plane. Save me some money. Okay. But are they going to save money? No, probably not. According to 4 sources familiar with the discussions, Trump's implied line that Qatar spontaneously offered the plane to Trump is not true. Instead, they say that U.S. officials actively pursued alternative options to replace the aging Air Force One. Qatar was one of the clients, a source told CNN, explaining that Boeing pointed the Pentagon towards existing international customers. The Pentagon offered to buy the plane, and Qatar indicated that it was willing to sell it. So let's go to journalist Alex Marquardt talking to CNN anchor John Berman. Well, here is that interview.
President Donald Trump has talked about this potential deal for a Qatari Boeing 747 to act as Air Force One, as a gesture, a gift from the Qatari royal family, which the U.S. would receive for free, he said. But sources tell my colleagues and me that it was the Trump administration that first made the outreach to Qatar after Trump came into office, that it is in fact the U.S. that made this request of Doha. The administration was told by Boeing, which is making the next generation of Air Force One planes, that the 2 planes would not arrive until 2027. Trump wanted something sooner, so the Pentagon, with the White House's backing, reached out to Qatar. Boeing had given the administration a list of possible planes that could work as Air Force One in the meantime, and Qatar had one of those planes. The president's Middle East envoy, Steve Witkoff, he also helped facilitate these early meetings. The Pentagon then offered to buy the plane, and Qatar offered to sell it. Now, we're told, the lawyers are still hashing out the details, but the White House is still claiming that this is going to be a donation from Qatar, or as Trump wrote on Truth Social recently, a gift free of charge. Trump had said that a Qatari official had told him, if I can help you, let me do that. Now, publicly, Qatar has not refuted Trump, and in his visit to Doha last week, everything went smoothly. But the real story is certainly more nuanced and different from how Trump and his aides have been telling it. Even if this deal is signed, current and former officials have told CNN that it could take 2 years and hundreds of millions of dollars, several times the value of the plane, to strip it down and rebuild it with technical and security standards fit for a U.S. presidential aircraft.
So hold on. It's a gift that's supposed to be free, but it's actually not a gift. So wait, what? Because the Pentagon's going to buy it? But it'd be totally stupid not to accept this free gift. That's what Trump said. Okay? That is actually going to cost a lot of money to buy, but the Pentagon buying it, and then they're going to have to spend a lot of time and money refitting it too. Hold on here. And let's not forget, by the way, the reason that he's like, oh yeah, well, yeah, obviously you need a new plane, right? Because it's going to take a long time to, have Boeing be able to build us a new Air Force One. So, this will be faster, except maybe it won't, because it'll take a couple years to, and lots of money to make it flyable. So there's a lot of contradictions here. It's very strange. Is it free or is it not? That doesn't make any sense. It kind of sounds like they're attempting perhaps to get around the foreign emoluments issue, which it's not like, they're going to go after Trump for emoluments anyway, okay? Because all Congress would have to do is just say, oh, no, it's totally fine that he accepts this gift, right? But also it's going to the Pentagon. It's actually not going to Donald Trump. And then, once the administration is over, then Pentagon's going to donate it to the Trump Presidential Library. But that means that he can personally use it. And so that's even when he's not president. So I don't know. It just kind of feels like to me that Trump's just really wants his bribe. That's it. He wants to bribe. And not only that, but it's funny because you think about the Doge people who actually don't care about saving money, okay? But if people knew that we might end up actually paying out the nose for a plane that Trump can then possibly use on his own after he's done with the presidency, I mean, you would think that they'd get mad, right? I mean, I don't know. It seems like something to get angry about it, especially if you cared about, the budget. Yeah, we got to save so much money. I mean, he's out there telling people, Trump is, to get less dolls. Oh, you only need like 3 dolls and 5 pencils or something like that. And the tariffs. I mean, yes, they're going to cost you money now, and that's because you're going to end up paying them. And Walmart, you eat those tariffs too. But that's okay. I can get a plane for $400 million, but I'm not paying for it. So, whether it's a gift or whether the Pentagon actually pays for the plane, I mean, he still gets it pretty much for free. So I don't think he cares at all where it comes from or how much it is. I don't know what the truth is here on this one. And are we paying for it or are we not? I don't know. Absolutely. It's just ridiculous, the whole thing. Wow. Okay. Moving on here. Let's go to the next story. The mayor of St. Louis is going after FEMA for not showing up to help after they were hit with a pretty devastating tornado. Kara Spencer was recently on MSNBC and said that the EF3 tornado, which has killed at least 7 people and caused $1 billion worth of damage, has stretched, yes, their aid workers to the limit in the state, and that they really do need federal help. And it has just not come.
Cities across the nation, when experiencing disasters such as this is what the federal government is for. We need your help. We need the help of the broader community. We have set up a fund to help bring in some funding right off the bat, just to bridge that gap. But we need federal assistance. There is
FEMA
no way.
there? Is FEMA on the ground yet?
FEMA has not been on the ground. We do not have confirmed assistance from FEMA at this point.
No confirmed assistance from FEMA at this point. Yikes. She added, what we need right now is federal assistance. This is where FEMA and the federal government has to come in and help communities. Our city cannot shoulder this alone. The state of Missouri cannot shoulder this alone. Now, of course, she's not the only one that has said that, hey, Missouri really needs some help from FEMA right now. In fact, you have Senator Josh Hawley, who was out there begging Kristi Noem for aid.
Will you help expedite those, Secretary Noem, and get those in front of the president, get those approved? We are desperate for the assistance in Missouri.
Yes, absolutely.
Thank
Make
you.
sure the application gets to the White House as soon as possible.
Fantastic, thank you. And can I also have your commitment that if and when the president approves a major disaster declaration for this storm that just happened on Friday in St. Louis, will you expedite as much as possible FEMA individual assistance for those who qualify for it in the St. Louis area?
Yes.
And I want to tell you just how important that is, because as I toured these streets and walked and talked to the residents, what I heard over and over is many of these folks don't have insurance.
Yeah.
Many of these folks, they either got their homes from a family member, or they bought them from a family member, so they don't have a mortgage on the property, and therefore they don't have homeowners insurance. So, as you know, having been a governor, in many instances, FEMA assistance is going to be the only assistance.
FEMA assistance is going to be the only assistance for a lot of these people, and it looks like they're not going to get anything then, because that's it. Look, it's important to note that Josh Hawley voted against funding FEMA back in October, when Trump was not president, when it was Joe Biden. So there's that, okay? Now, speaking of Trump, no help is coming, okay? Trump said you're on your own, okay? That was back in January while touring the LA wildfires, okay? The area that was devastated by those wildfires. He said this, quote, "I say you don't need FEMA. You need a good state government. FEMA is a very expensive, in my opinion, mostly failed situation." Okay. So, yeah, FEMA. Now, that agency, by the way, has been gutted by Doge, okay? And FEMA's interim leader has already admitted that they're not prepared for hurricane season. Yes, that's right. They're not prepared for hurricane season, which begins in just a matter of days. So once one of those hits, what's already small humanitarian disasters across the country is going to turn into much bigger ones. Okay, things are about to get worse. And here's the thing. Well, Missouri, right? Well, they're a red state, right? Well, of course Trump's going to help them, right? If they wouldn't help Arkansas, okay, because Sarah Huckabee Sanders is sitting there begging for help now. If they wouldn't help Arkansas, why do you think they would help Missouri? Okay, there were storms from March where Sarah Huckabee Sanders is like, we need help. We need FEMA. Okay, come down. We really, really need help. She has sent multiple requests to the Trump administration, and they were shut down every single time. What makes Hawley think, or anyone else think, that he's going to turn around and help Missouri? No, he's not helping anybody. Okay, and that's the problem. Look, I feel for the people that have been impacted by this. I really do. Because I wish there were help, okay, that there was help for them. But you got to point out that some of the people who did, who are affected by this, did vote for it, voted for Trump, bought the lies that FEMA is not going to help you. FEMA didn't help you under Biden, even though they did. And they voted for the guy who actually ended up not helping you. And again, that's the sad part about this, right? There is no doubt that Harris would have actually authorized FEMA assistance for Arkansas or for Missouri and anywhere else that needs it. Okay. And not because she's like, oh, this is an amazing person. I love Kamala Harris so much. No. It's because that's her job. Okay. And that's what that is. Being president means you do these things. You help out other states. You direct federal resources to places that need them. But Trump doesn't want to do it. He won't lift a finger to help anyone, not even his own voters. Okay. And so what's going on here is pretty simple. All right. I'm going to spell it out real simple here. In that it was the F around of times, and it's about to be the find out of times. Yeah, that's right. MAGA bootstraps, everybody. Bootstrapping. Just because the state is red doesn't mean everyone in that state is red or deserves to suffer. No, I agree with that. And that's why I'm saying I absolutely feel for it. But again, you had a majority of people that ended up voting for this. And yes, there is gerrymandered districts, so that is something to remember, of course. But basically, you had enough people in those states vote for this. And so, I mean, what do you think is going to happen? It's going to be a lot of pain for a lot of people. And as much as I hate it, it's just what's going to happen. Okay. All right, moving on. A Texas judge has ruled that transgender Americans have no right to not be harassed at work. On Thursday, Trump appointee Judge Matthew Kacsmaryk had issued a ruling declaring that Title VII no longer protects LGBTQ plus people from experiencing workplace discrimination. The Heritage Foundation in the state of Texas had filed a lawsuit to challenge these non-discrimination laws, and unfortunately, in this case, they have won, despite the fact that this decision directly contradicts another of the Supreme Court's, this is the U.S. Supreme Court's landmark 2020 ruling, Bostock v. Clayton County, which held that discrimination based on sexual orientation or gender identity is, by definition, discrimination on sex. In siding with the plaintiffs, though, Judge Kacsmaryk pointed to the state Texas Department of Agriculture's current employee policy, which requires employees to comply with the dress code in a manner consistent with their biological gender. Erasing transgender people, of course, specifying that men may wear pants and women may wear dresses, skirts, or pants. Gee, I wonder when they're going to drop the "or" from that. Don't know. Now, the ruling also upheld the department's policy banning transgender employees from using the restroom that aligns with their own gender identity, and also ruled that Title VII only protects firing somebody simply for being homosexual or transgender, but does not protect transgender or gay people from being harassed on the job. In sum, Title VII does not bar workplace employment policies that protect the inherent differences between men and women. Okay. So they can make policy that discriminates against those groups as long as they can argue that it protects the inherent differences between men and women, which can absolutely vary. See, here's the thing. Sex is not a binary. It is a spectrum. Yes, you may have a vagina, but also Y chromosomes. You may have a penis, but 2 X chromosomes or XXY chromosomes. Yes, your SRY genes, kind of important, okay? And so you also may be intersex or just identify as non-binary. That's it. Which in Texas, by the way, is not going to get you fired, but might make you quit due to some of the harassment you'll get for not fitting in. So, totally fine to harass them until they quit. That's what this allows. Okay. Judge Kacsmaryk further argued that disparate treatment of transgender employees does not constitute unequal treatment, saying that a male employee must use male facilities like other males. Note how they seem to always ignore trans men. Trans men grow beards, can be muscular, they take tea, but are biologically female. They can go into women's restrooms? Well, no, they'll be forced to go into women's restrooms. It's funny how they leave that out. Okay. Now, he also extended that logic to dress codes and pronouns, because nothing triggers them more than pronouns, claiming that requiring employees to adhere to clothing standards and pronoun use based on their assigned sex at birth is not discriminatory, because it applies equally to everyone. Oh, you see, it's not discriminatory because you all have to follow the same rule. Hold on here. Wait, what? So, that's weird. Policing people's clothing choices and pronouns. That's what's going on from the people who complain about pronouns. By the way, you're not allowed to do to have pronouns. Doesn't make any sense. And look, these arguments also follow the same legal reasoning once used to uphold same-sex marriage bans. Okay. Oh, it's not discrimination because you gays, you can just marry straight people. But hold on. Well, straight people can get married to members of the opposite sex, and so can you. So where's the discrimination here? Honestly. Wait, what? No, that doesn't make any sense. It's exclusion, period. And by the way, yes, if you're a woman, you can wear pants, skirts, and dresses, but, if you're assigned male at birth, then your clothing choices are rather limited. Are they not? Only pants for you. Okay. All right. Now, finally, Judge Kaczmarek has ordered the complete removal of all references to sexual orientation and gender identity as protected classes under Title VII from the EEOC guidance. His ruling declares that all language defining sex in Title VII to include sexual orientation and gender identity must be stripped from federal employment policy. It also targets and nullifies Section 2 of the 2024 EEOC guidance, which states that sex-based discrimination under Title VII includes employment discrimination based on sexual orientation or gender identity, which of course contradicts Bostock v. Clayton County, which held that Title VII protects LGBTQ plus workers from discrimination. That was a 6-3 decision, by the way. Supreme Court said that firing somebody for being gay or trans is inherently sex-based discrimination and violates federal civil rights laws. Now, I know the case mainly focused on wrongful terminations here, right? But if you can't be fired for being gay or trans because that's discrimination, then why isn't harassment based on those very same things also not considered discrimination? Look, this is nothing more than right-wing judicial activism. That's what this is about, okay? Which is something, by the way, this judge has gotten a reputation for. Remember, he was the one who tried to revoke FDA approval of mifepristone, a safe and widely used abortion medication. He's ruled against LGBTQ plus protections in the ACA. He even tried to force Planned Parenthood to pay $2 billion to Texas and Louisiana. I mean, look, not even the deeply conservative Fifth Circuit agreed with that. They're like, what is this crap? No, we're going to toss that decision out with the garbage. All right. But now he's taken aim at Title VII itself, which invites employers and people who also work at these places to harass and discriminate against their LGBTQ plus workers and co-workers. That is the reality here of what this decision means. And it's, I think, part of the way to try to bully transgender people out of civilian life. That's what this is. They want to erase transgender people. They've already set up, this in the federal government when Trump said that, we don't have, like, trans people don't actually exist. They're not real. There's only two sexes. That's it. They've erased them from policy, and now this is more attempts to erase them from public life. All right. That's all the stories that I have for you. All right. And so that's it. I have most testosterone than most men I know. I'm going to hurt so many people's feelings. There's a reason why queer folk are notoriously creative with insults. I'm ready, and so are many of our coworkers. Well, there you go. There you go. All right. Let's see. S-Bloom85 says we need more gender neutral bathrooms. Toilets don't care about what a person identifies as. Toilets are good people. Nice. All right. With that said, thank you everybody for watching. Please like and share the video if you haven't already. The stream. You can support the channel by going to our Patreon, patreon.com/jeffwaldorf, as well as signing up to be a channel member. Thank you all, everybody. Have a great rest of your afternoon, evening, wherever you're at. And we'll see you guys back here tomorrow.